2020. As we navigate this pandemic, we know a lot about what's happening this fall, but there are also still many questions we are trying to answer. We are committed to providing you quality experiences and answers to your questions when we get them. Your safety is first and foremost in our planning, and we will continue to leverage the guidance of the CDC and the Minnesota Department of Health in our planning.
As we navigate this
now
pandemic,
on for some
we
logistics
know a lot
here
about
this
what's
evening.
happening this fall, but there are also
Tonight's
still
town
many
hall
questions
will be
we are trying to
recorded
answer.
and is designed
We
with
are
content
committed to
related
providing you quality
specifically to the
experiences and
changes for
answers to your
fall.
questions.
This does not really include
Your
general
safety is first
introductory
and
type
foremost in our
questions that you will
planning,
receive
and we
at
will
your
continue to
orientation
leverage the
program.
guidance of the CDC
The first
and
50
the
minutes
Minnesota
or so,
Department of Health.
we will have university leaders as our featured panelists representing different areas across campus. We collected questions from many of you in advance, and we will spend time through their remarks trying to answer many of those questions. Just a reminder, we will not be answering live Q&A during the first portion of the town hall. After our panelists have made their remarks, we will take a 5-minute break to bring additional university representatives for breakout sessions. These breakout sessions, we will be answering the live Q&A, and they will be split for international students and families and US students and families in order for us to become more specific with our responses. Attendees, you will simply stay logged on and participate after the break. Additionally, staff may have the opportunity to answer a question in the chat and send you links to additional resources while we are live. All of the town hall and the breakout sessions will be recorded and shared afterwards with you in an email, along with a recap of meeting highlights and links for further information. Now on to our agenda. Here is an overview of today's agenda featuring our university leaders. I will be introducing each of them as we move through the agenda. Before I do that though, we do have two important video messages we would like to share. The first video message is from our head football coach, PJ Fleck, and the second video message is from our very own president, Joan T.A. Gable.
It's what we get up in the morning to do. It's what we go to bed at night thinking about. We're very honored to share this part of your life with you. You all have been through a lot. The spring was not what you expected it to be. We are in the midst of a really profound and important social crisis after the absolutely tragic death of George Floyd. Some of you may know I have 3 kids myself. 2 of them graduated in the spring, 1 from college and 1 from high school. So I've seen what you all have been doing and what you've been through, both in my role with the University of Minnesota, but also as a mom. And I am exceptionally humbled and proud of what you all have been doing and how you've been doing it in your setting of expectations, in your expression of voice in all the different ways from all the different life experiences and backgrounds and all the points of view that you represent. I hope that and know that what you'll find here at the University of Minnesota will allow you to continue to fulfill those expectations, to meet and exceed those expectations. What you'll find here is in some ways a small town campus environment in the middle of a major metropolitan area that gives you, I think, the best of both worlds in terms of what you can access, what you can lean into, and how you can also find a sense of community and a sense of belonging within all of the different ways in which you might want to spend your time, advance your education, have professional and personal experiences. This community has really pulled together over these last few months and especially in these last few weeks in ways that are important and healing, but also forward-looking around what it means to feel safe, what it means to be a safe community in all the different ways that someone may define that based on who they are and what is important to them in their own life experiences, which we respect and embrace and dignify and acknowledge and see. I want to share, though, around the concept of safety, a few things that may need clarification. We made a decision after George Floyd's death not to do what we call special services contracting with the Minneapolis Police Department. We have decided to, when we need those services, special services, to work with others who are happy and willing and fully capable of working with us in the way in which we manage public safety across our Twin Cities campuses. by virtue of those relationships, even in the most active of times over the last few weeks, we did not have any damage to our campus. Our campus is safe in terms of the buildings. The classrooms are ready for you. The labs are ready for you. The dorms are ready for you. We are ready for you. We are delighted that the fall semester is soon upon us and that you will be here when that semester starts. The starting of the semester brings a new chapter of uncertainty. It always does, even in normal times as your life changes and you come into a new community. But with everything that's going on right now, we know that uncertainty is heightened. We feel the same way for different reasons, but we're there with you. And I want you to know that we share this with you. We're standing up all of our student support services to be ready for you, whether it's how you choose your classes, given changes to the fall calendar, whether it's the mental health support that you may need during challenging times, other types of student support, student services, career advisory services, leadership opportunities, community service and volunteerism opportunities, whatever it is that it is the thing that you want to plug into, we have it. It's ready, it's planned, and we're looking forward to making it available to you in the ways that make sense. So I thank you for the opportunity to welcome you. I congratulate you again on what has brought you here. I wish you luck, and I tell you, hopefully, for the first time from me, go Gophers. Thank you.
To the new University of Minnesota Golden Gopher students, welcome to Minneapolis, the Twin Cities, and the University of Minnesota. We are so excited to have all of you here. Think about when you're coming here right now. Think about what's going on in our world. You're the class of change. You're the generation of change. And you get to do that in your next 4 to 5 years here, and if your doctor is 6 to 8, right here at the University of Minnesota. You get to bring that generational change right here at the University of Minnesota and start it here. That's pretty cool. Cannot wait to get to know all of you. Can't wait to have you at football games when we're allowed to have everybody in the stadium at some point. But think about the year that you have and the year that you have coming up and what you can create here. We are so excited to have you. I'm so excited that you're Golden Gophers, and I hope to see every single one of you. Whether it's open practices or whether it's games, we want you rowing the boat with us on Saturdays. So welcome everybody, enjoy your experience, stay safe, be safe, and always row the boat, Sky-Ma, and go Gophers. Welcome.
Thank you, President Gable, and thank you, Coach Fleck. Now let's get right into it and begin with our first presenter covering the topics around the academic calendar and fall classes. I would like to introduce to you Vice Provost and Dean in the Office of Undergraduate Education, Robert McMaster. The Office of Undergraduate Education has a collective of offices and services related to enrollment management, to student support and success. Bob, I will now turn it over to you.
Great, thank you, Beth. As Vice Provost and Dean, I'm excited to add my welcome to all of you. I've now been at the university for over 30 years, both as a faculty member in geography and as an administrator. We're thrilled you've chosen the University of Minnesota Twin Cities to pursue your education. As Beth mentioned, we are still answering many of your questions and will commit to communicating with you as answers become available in the next few days and weeks. I'm going to talk with you about several aspects of the fall semester, including dates and online education options. The fall semester will start Tuesday, September 8th as planned. However, in-person instruction will end as of Thanksgiving, with all remaining in-person classes transitioning to remote instruction. The last day of instruction will be December 16th, with final exams scheduled December 17th to 23rd. The dates of the fall semester have not changed, but what has changed is how instruction after Thanksgiving will be delivered. Thanksgiving this fall is November 26th, when, as mentioned, instruction will be delivered remotely after that date. We know that this does not affect all students, but many students do travel to visit their families. By moving to an online format after this date, we hope to minimize potential increased risk of transmitting COVID-19. We will be carefully monitoring the prevalence of COVID-19 on campus, and if public health conditions require, we may transition to distance education before the planned pivot at Thanksgiving. For the entirety of this fall semester, the university will be offering classes both online and in person, or a combination of both. Faculty and instructors are in the process of identifying which courses will be online and which will be in person. The university plans to have this important detail finalized by the middle of July. At that time, students will be able to review their class schedule, and we'll provide the resources and support to make any adjustments that they feel are needed. The main objective of these plans is to ensure flexibility, to accommodate your needs, student needs, and to provide an excellent learning experience and to adapt to the demands of the public health conditions to protect the safety and health of all of our students, faculty, and staff. Now, regarding classrooms, the in-person courses will be offered with reduced classroom capacities due to the physical distancing that is required by public health guidance. In addition, there will be a significant number of classes offered online, hybrid, or a combination of the two. While we will not have the capacity to offer all courses in all delivery methods, we are working to ensure that you will have the ability to fill out your schedule or adjust your schedule at the orientation with in-person or distance classes or both. There will be excellent options for students who want to attend all classes remotely to ensure progress towards your degree. For example, a 100-seat lecture hall may be filled to 25% of its capacity, given 6-foot distancing. Classes above a certain capacity will be taught online. Of course, labs are being offered and the format for labs is still being finalized. Some will be online, some face-to-face, and some offered in a hybrid model. For example, physics and chemistry laboratories are being offered online and the departments are mailing out lab kits to enrolled students. For biology laboratories, kits are ordered through the bookstore and some labs will be offered in a hybrid model. While classrooms will be configured to allow for physical distancing, faculty may require masks to be worn in the classroom. This requirement must be clearly indicated on the syllabus so that students may use this information in the selection of their classes. Faculty in each of your colleges have been working to ensure an online option, an online-only option for international students. This option was developed to ensure that our international students have a meaningful way to begin their University of Minnesota experience and education this fall, even if you are not able to be physically on campus. We have set aside key courses in each of the colleges that will be fully online, while also offering opportunities throughout the semester for real-time classes and workshops to meet other U of M students. We understand there are many travel challenges at this time, but I want to assure you that you can begin your U of M experience this fall with meaningful courses and an exciting Gopher experience. You'll hear more about this later in the program. The university's usual grading policies and practices will remain the same for the fall semester. The university, as many of you know, has decided to freeze tuition for this upcoming academic year in order to manage costs for our students. The tuition rate for both online and in-person instruction will be the same. You can expect the highest quality of instruction from our world-class faculty, regardless of delivery methods. Additionally, we will have all of our student services and learning support services available for you to access. So in summary, there will be necessary adjustments to course delivery this fall, but we will ensure a world-class University of Minnesota education as always. So again, I'm just delighted that you'll be joining us at the University of Minnesota this fall. You've made an absolutely terrific choice, and I look forward to seeing you. Thank you, Beth.
Thanks, Bob. Moving on to the next topics of campus life and campus safety, I welcome Maggie Towell, the Vice Provost and Dean of Students in the Office for Student Affairs. Student Affairs includes areas of student advocacy and support, health and well-being, and campus life. Maggie, I'll now turn it over to you.
Thank you, Beth. The Office for Student Affairs includes the areas that focus on student well-being, student activities, student support services, and much more. I'm happy to share a bit about what campus life will look like in the fall, how we will help minimize the spread of COVID, and opportunities for the overall health of students. The university is implementing a range of techniques to reduce the chance of infection and spread on campus. As Vice Provost McMaster mentioned, classrooms will be operating with reduced capacity to ensure 6 feet of space. Cleaning and sanitation will be enhanced, and hand sanitizer will be readily available. Students, staff, and faculty will be strongly encouraged to wear face coverings, matching the Center for Disease Control and the Minnesota Department of Health guidelines, and everyone will be encouraged to stay home when they are not feeling well. Along with these guidelines, there will be plans in place for students who may need to quarantine and reframed guidelines for how students can engage in missed coursework. A constant campaign of messaging from signage to videos to social media will be present. Campus life is expected to be open and vibrant this fall with some significant modifications from what is usual. We expect to have our Recreation and Wellness Center, RecWell, open and modified, so there will be opportunities for students to work out and get some exercise. Student organizations and clubs will be running. Some will still be virtual, but others will just have some social distancing. We have over 800 student groups. We have groups ranging from A to Z, a cappella to the zoology club. So there truly should be something of interest to students. The marching band is moving forward with auditions and plans for fall, and athletics is working on plans that will likely reduce attendance at games. Modifications will mirror those implemented for the entire campus. Goldie Gopher is anxious to welcome students back, and please remember to take your photo by Goldie's statue, which is right outside of Coffin Union on the East Bank campus. Students should get a head start to getting involved by participating in the weeks of welcome activities so they become comfortable and start to meet others. Next, I want to talk about student well-being, which is critically important to us on this campus. First, we want students to utilize a wide range of tools to navigate their well-being, from exercise at the rec well, as I mentioned earlier, to building relationships and connections with other students, to using tools like de-stress workshops, group sessions, and one-on-one stress check-ins. We have a wonderful program called PAWS, P-A-W-S, and that stands for Pet Away Worry and Stress, where we bring in dogs, cats, rabbits, and even a miniature horse for students to pet and interact with several times a week in various locations across campus. Mental health counseling and support will be available through student counseling services and Boynton Health. Currently, providers are using a combination of in-person appointments and telehealth, which has allowed for access during the day and evening. We expect all of those approaches to continue fall semester. When it comes to campus safety, we know there are lots of questions, and it is important that we highlight what has and has not changed. The holistic safety of students is critically important, and we want students to use all of the resources available, including finding groups of students who share your identity as well as interests. Other resources include tracking bus arrival times using the Gopher Trip app, calling the Safe Walk program for an escort home, using Gopher Rideshare to find someone going your way, or accessing paid services such as Lyft or Uber. No day-to-day changes have been made to security resources on campus and in the surrounding community. The University of Minnesota Police Department is responsible for the campus, and the Minneapolis Police Department covers the jurisdiction surrounding the East and West Bank portions of campus. Any changes to policing will be strategic and is only one part of campus safety. Everyone has their own life experience, and we need to be forward-looking about campus safety while making sure we keep students and community safety as the highest priority. We look forward to having you on campus this fall, and the students are what makes this university such a wonderful place to be, and we are proud to welcome the class of 2024.
Thank you, Maggie. Another important office on our campus doing work is the Office for Equity and Diversity. To discuss their work, campus support services, we have with us Virajita Singh. She serves as the Associate Vice Provost for Equity and Diversity and is also a faculty member in the College of Design. Virajita, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Beth. I am excited to welcome you all to the University of Minnesota community, a community that is founded on respect, equity, and inclusion as a fundamental value. We are all currently facing challenges, from a worldwide pandemic to confronting systemic racism, as brought into painful focus with the recent murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis. Over these past few weeks, our campus, along with many other cities and campuses across the country, have been reeling from these events and experiencing a range of emotions of grief, anger, and frustration. These heartbreaking times have called for us to re-examine and address the work needed to be done on our campus, as well as our responsibility as the state's flagship university. Some of our faculty, students, and staff have been at the forefront of scholarship, community work, and activism in addressing issues of racism and the inequities that exist within the Twin Cities. Also within Greater Minnesota, regionally and nationally. The university stands strong in its commitment to dismantling systemic racism and ensuring that all students, faculty, and staff feel safe and welcome on our campuses. I have been personally involved in listening to groups of current students sharing their experiences and with faculty and staff who are taking action. As a student coming to the University of Minnesota this fall, you too are part of this commitment. Recently, my office sent out a memo to faculty, staff, and students to speak to the actions we can all take to address systemic racism. These actions are to listen to members of Black communities, Indigenous communities, and communities of color, and understand their lived experiences. To learn more about your role in creating change. To support impacted communities, including many in our own neighborhoods, towns, and cities. And to advocate and make your voice heard. We have further work to do. We are committed to creating a campus climate where all students feel respected, have a sense of belonging, and where each will thrive as they earn their college degree. This year, our freshman class is on track to be the most diverse in the university's recent history, perhaps ever. You will experience that diversity in your classes, whether they be online or in person, through campus activities and student groups. We have an array of student services offered for students from underrepresented backgrounds. That is, students from different race, ethnicities, gender, sexual orientation, geographies, and other differences. You will learn more at orientation, but I will mention a few. The Disability Resource Center works in partnership with students with documented disabilities to ensure that accommodations are met and the learning environment is accessible. The Multicultural Center for Academic Excellence, which we call MK, will offer the MK Kickoff experience online and in person to create community for students. The President's Emerging Scholars Program, which provides a wide range of support for high-achieving, historically underserved students. And of course, there are many more programs and activities. Thank you all for joining us today, and I look forward to your starting the journey with us at the University of Minnesota this fall.
Thank you so much, Virajita. To discuss the world at the U, we have with us Meredith McQuaid, who serves as the Associate Vice President for Global Programs and Strategy Alliance. Her areas include global programming, international student and scholar services, learning abroad programs, among other things. Meredith, I will now turn it over to you.
Thank you, Beth. And good evening, good afternoon, good morning. We have people listening from all time zones right now. And please allow me to join my colleagues in welcoming all of you to the University of Minnesota. We are absolutely delighted that we have found one another on this planet and that you will soon be joining us and the university network all over the world. You know, in our increasingly interconnected society, we will continue to face challenges that one state, one country, or one university cannot solve alone. You already know that in order for each one of us to be ready for the future, we need to be able to work across cultural, linguistic, and geographic boundaries. We need to create a culturally competent workforce that will meet the world's challenges head on with imagination and skills and creativity. Global ready graduates are equipped to work with diverse individuals, organizations, markets, and governments. A global skill set is no longer just sort of a nice extra for a resume. It is a necessity for success. And what you will learn with us, beginning with your first semester, will give you the skills you need to make a difference in your own way, locally, nationally, and internationally. The University of Minnesota is a recognized leader in international education. Our faculty, they do work all over the world, and our students come to us from around the world. Our students study abroad, they learn languages, and they graduate ready for jobs at home and abroad. This university is ranked in the top 30 among research institutions in the United States for the number of international students here in the Twin Cities campus. We host almost 6,000 international students from more than 100 countries. We also have a really strong reputation in study abroad, ranking in the top 10 among research institutions for the number of students who go abroad on credit-bearing programs. I know that many of you are interested in studying abroad during your undergraduate career here at the university, and we have a wide range of programs for you to choose from. Now, this fall, of course, your options will be more limited than in an ordinary semester, but we are really optimistic that we'll be offering opportunities later this fall, during winter break, then spring semester, spring break, and during the summer. Of course, we'll be watching closely the health developments around the world and abiding by health and safety requirements overseas as well as here at home. But we are really proud of our track record here, providing all students with an opportunity to live and learn abroad, regardless of income or background, regardless of abilities or disabilities, regardless of experience or prior exposure traveling. And we're going to work with you to give you the experience you have always wanted. And because of our location in a diverse metropolitan area, we also have global, local learning opportunities right here in Minnesota. Oh, and actually, right now we have almost 40 students doing international internships remotely with our many partners overseas. We know from our experience that you have interest and curiosity about the world, and we are going to have opportunities for you to engage in, even if getting on a plane this fall is not an option. So over the course of your 4 years with us, you're going to have the chance to see, to taste, to engage with the world. Our classrooms and our campus are enriched through the enrollment of thousands of international students in our classes and engaged in our activities, and many of them are here in this town hall today. By getting to know one another, a student from St. Cloud, Minnesota, a student from Sacramento, California, and a student from Nepal or Mexico or China, you are each going to learn something from the other. And before I pass the microphone over to our next speaker, I want to specifically address the many international students on this town hall and let you know that we are, all of us, aware of the additional challenges you are going to face this year. Please know that we want you at the University of Minnesota, even if that means starting in your own country. We're working on ways to help you make new friends and to stay engaged long distance if that's necessary this fall. And we really look forward to seeing you in Minnesota whenever you can join us. All of us here know that the entire campus community benefits from the sharing of unique perspectives, cultures, and ideas to inspire innovation and ultimately lead to a greater competitive edge. Welcome to the university and welcome to the world at the U. Thanks.
Thank you, Meredith. Many of you are planning to live on campus, and I'm sure you're curious and have questions about residence hall and dining experiences and how those may occur. So joining us tonight to help answer some of those questions is the Interim Director for Housing and Residential Life, Susan Stubblefield. Susan, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Beth. As Beth said, I'm Susan Stubblefield, and we look forward to having you live on campus this fall. Living on campus is shown to positively contribute to academic success and graduation. Housing and Residential Life staff are preparing for your arrival. I will review some information about on-campus housing for fall, move-in, housing contracts, dining, physical distancing, and what we are doing to prepare for students who may test positive for COVID-19. First of all, I'm pleased to share with you that living on campus will be offered to all students who completed a housing application and a guarantee payment by June 15th. Also, double occupancy in university housing has been supported by the Minnesota Department of Health. Double occupancy is when two people share a room or bedroom. Our housing occupancy has also been reviewed so that in each shared room, student beds can be set up to allow for a minimum of 6 feet distance between each person's head while they sleep. Students may request a single room through their housing application if they choose, and we have approximately 900 single rooms throughout all of our buildings. Most incoming students are requesting a double room because they know they want a roommate experience. Students may use the roommate matching program to help find a roommate. And those of you that do that need to complete the roommate matching process by June 30th. Living learning community roommates are assigned by housing instead of through the roommate matching program. Housing and Residential Life collaborates with sponsors from colleges and units across campus to provide housing within more than 30 living learning communities. Students within each living learning community are assigned to an area of a residence hall. One last note about roommates. Most students want to have a roommate, and roommates can help develop broader social and academic connections through friendships. Roommates can provide support for positive mental health and assist in reaching out for support if needed. We also have resources to support the development of positive roommate relationships. Some of you had questions about move-in. Move-in will be planned to support physical distancing. We're still in the process of developing details, but please plan your move-in plan with these things in mind. Each student may bring up to 2 additional people to help them move in. Please arrive during your designated time. And please adhere to the quantity of personal belongings that you bring to the university during the move-in period. Due to COVID-19, volunteers will not be present this year to assist with move-in. So you will need to be prepared to transport all personal belongings. Housing and Residential Life will provide carts to assist in transporting belongings from your vehicle to your room. More details about move-in will be sent to you with your housing assignment information. Some of you had asked about housing contract periods. The residence hall contract will be confirmed by the end of June. With in-person instruction ending on November 25th, we are looking at options to meet student needs. Residence hall options will be available in December and during the semester break period. For students who arrive on campus during spring semester, we will have a spring-only housing contract. Due to the high demand for on-campus housing, we won't know which spaces would be available until early January. If you have a housing application and paid the $200 guarantee payment, but would like to defer your contract to spring semester, you can send us an email to housing.umn.edu and a staff member will assist you. Also, you may cancel your housing contract by August 1st and receive a refund of your $200 guarantee payment. Dining Services is developing plans to ensure all food services provide the utmost quality and safety for students. They are using guidance from the Minnesota Department of Health and the Center for Disease Control. Students with a residence hall housing contract are required to have a meal plan. Students with an apartment contract may choose to have a meal plan. Apartments have kitchen facilities within each unit. To support physical distancing, shared community spaces within the residence halls will be posted with a maximum capacity. These capacities are based upon the recommended 6 feet physical distancing. At this point, masks are not required in community spaces. However, it is recommended that people wear a mask whenever physical distancing cannot be maintained. Housing and Residential Life also follows or exceeds the cleaning standards set forth by the Centers for Disease Control. Boynton Health has developed a process which we have been using since March to assist students who test positive for COVID-19 and to provide them with choices. When possible, isolating at home under the care of family is recommended. Students with an on-campus housing contract who cannot go home will be transferred to isolation housing. Housing and Residential Life work in partnership with Boynton Health to implement this process in a confidential and supportive way for students. For more information about these topics and other frequently asked questions, please visit our Housing and Residential Life webpage. Again, we look forward to having you be part of our community this fall. Now I will turn it back over to Beth.
Thank you, Susan. I did want to just take a moment to let Vice Provost for Student Affairs, Maggie Towle, say another hello as we were having some technical difficulties with her video. So Maggie.
Hello, everybody. I am a real person. I apologize that I wasn't on video when I made my remarks earlier. So I am here to assist you in any ways. And again, apologize for the technical difficulty. So thank you very much, Beth.
We appreciate you joining us, Maggie. As I mentioned earlier, there will be plenty of opportunities to answer more questions that we've probably just started the conversation here, and we'll be able to do some live Q&A. But finally, I think it's really important for us to have perspective of some of our current students. So tonight we have with us 2 orientation leaders joining to share some of their insights and thoughts on their experiences. So Haley Keelan is joining us. She's a junior in the College of Education and Human Development, majoring in special education, and she's from Lakeville, Minnesota. And Anita Fang is a junior in the College of Liberal Arts, majoring in psychology, and she's from Qingdao, China. So Haley and Anita, I'm now going to turn it over to you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Me and Anita are going to be touching on a few points here. So what we're going to be talking about is how online went overall for us last semester, what resources we used during that time, our feelings about the fall semester, and then we also will briefly touch on our Weeks of Welcome programming. So I'm just going to start it off really quickly talking about how online went overall for me. So the first week was a really big transitional time for all students at the university, but with the caring words and support from our professors and TAs, I got the feeling that I will be supported through this online format. I remember I was a little bit overwhelmed in the first couple of weeks, and it definitely took me time to adjust. For me, I'm someone who gets to class a few minutes early in order to talk with all of the students around me about class or just life in general. I built a lot of connections that way, and I was really nervous that I was going to lose them once we went online. Luckily, my professors gave us time in breakout rooms in order to communicate with other students, which helped build these connections. Many of my classes still had group projects, which are very nice to do online. We found times to Zoom and also utilized different resources such as Google Docs to complete our work. From a student standpoint, many of us were able to share similar experiences inside the classroom, which also helped us deepen our friendships outside of the classroom. I also had the opportunity to remain living in a residence hall during this time, and I've already witnessed how serious our university is on protecting everyone who resides here by following the guidelines of the CDC. Even while being online, it was still very nice to be able to remain on campus and remain safe.
Yeah, thanks, Haley. And for the resources wise, I would say there are some online resources that you provide I personally think is really useful. I remember after spring break, I had Zoom meetings with my college advisors and my major advisor. It was really convenient to book an appointment, and my advisors became even more considerate and would recommend several useful online resources around campus, such as the student counseling services, to make sure I was doing okay. And I had a writing intensive class last spring, so it was kind of rough for me after everything moved online at first. However, after I reached out to my TA and let him know my situation, he was willing to offer more time to help and support me. So we scheduled several Zoom meetings to discuss the research paper I was writing, which was really helpful for me. And I know a lot of universities shut down their residence halls, so a lot of my friends had to go back home, or for some of my international student friends, they had to go back to their home country. So I just really appreciate that the U would still offer the housing and dining options after the COVID-19 situation got worse, to make sure we have food to eat and a safe place to stay. And for the feeling about the fall, I'm actually really excited about the hybrid modes, because for me, I have already gotten used to the online format. I would not complain if I still have online classes next term. However, the possible in-person class choices just made me feel much happier. Like after a long time, I could finally see my friends again. I'm definitely concerned as well, because there are still a lot of uncertainties out there. But I think at least for me, I will wear a mask every time I show up in my in-person class, because it is just something small and easy for me to do. And by doing so, I could protect people around me and just show my care to this community.
Thanks, Anita. I'm also very excited about the fall. I have been waiting patiently for the email from our president, like many other students had, and I was so excited to see that we would be having a hybrid semester. From being online last spring, I found that our university was and is prepared for online classes, so I feel confident in my ability to do well and feel supported. Even though I enjoyed online classes, I am so excited that there are opportunities to have in-person classes, especially so I get the opportunity to see my professors and friends again. As an education major, I really hope that I'm able to get the hands-on experience inside the classrooms again this semester. But no matter what happens with my personal classes, as far as hybrid or in-person goes, I'm just excited to get back to campus and be a part of that community again. We all want to keep this campus as safe as possible, and I know that students, we really do want that as well. Gophers really do take care of Gophers, and I, as well as many others, will be taking an active role in caring for our community by wearing masks and following other guidelines from the CDC. Along with fall, Weeks of Welcome is also going to be a part of that. Weeks of Welcome is a multi-week online welcome program where groups will have the chance to meet once a week with a student leader and then participate in different online material throughout the rest of the week. As students, you have the opportunity to dive fully in and participate in multiple activities throughout this program. There is a big variety of activities for all students, and I would recommend participating in at least 1 or 2 optional activities a week. For instance, coming into college, I was very worried about time management, so I made sure to attend the time management session. I ended up meeting my best friend during that session as well, so I was super excited to learn more about time management and get a new friend. From an orientation leader point of view, me, Anita, and everyone else has witnessed students who attend the optional evening activities, create connections with other students, and continue to come back in order to bond with them. By putting yourself out there and choosing to engage, you are opening up more paths, opportunities, and connections to be formed here at the university.
Thank you so much, Haley and Anita. I sure can feel your enthusiasm, and I hope everyone else can too. It's really contagious. So before we take a quick break, I would like to again say a special thanks to all of our panelists who got us started this evening on the town hall. And I really appreciate them sharing all their insights about fall. And we will now take a 5-minute break. And participants, you simply need to stay logged on. And I just want to remind you that we are recording all these sessions. So if you do need to jump off, you can reference them at a later time in our follow-up email. So we're going to take a 5-minute break. Don't log off, just stay put, and we'll see you in a few minutes. Thank you so much.
All right. All right, everyone, welcome back. Hope you had a chance to take a break and stretch a little bit. I want to welcome you. My name is Leanne Moline. I serve as the Associate Vice Provost for Student Success. And I'm thrilled to welcome you to the University of Minnesota and our Gopher community. This is an exciting time in your lives. And as you begin your college career, this is certainly a memorable time. And that is for sure in many ways, right? I'm going to serve as the moderator for this portion of the town hall. And this will be our time for us to be able to ask some questions to each other, or for you to ask questions in the chat. You're going to recognize some of the faces already here on the panel. So I want to run through some introductions real quick. We have Dr. Robert McMaster, Vice Provost and Dean of Undergraduate Education and Faculty in CLA. You got to wave Bob or something. All right. We have Maggie Towell, Vice Provost and Dean of Students in the Office of Student Affairs. There we go. Virajita Singh, Associate Vice Provost in the Office of Equity and Diversity and Faculty in the College of Design. We have Susan Stubblefield, Interim Director of Housing and Residence Life. We have Haley Kylan, Orientation Leader and Junior in College of Education and Human Development. And then joining us new for this portion, we have Dr. Leslie Schiff, who's Associate Dean in the Office of Undergraduate Education and Faculty in the College of Biological Sciences. And then we also have Megan Miller-Toole, who's the Assistant to the Vice Provost for Student Affairs and Director of the Parent and Family Program. I'm noticing that some of the shades are in my background. We're getting a storm that's brewing in the background, so you'll probably see some of the lighting shift as we go along. I want to thank all the panelists for being a part of this session as well. So a few reminders as we get started. This portion of the town hall is going to focus on responding to your questions, and some of them you sent in advance, but also questions you submit now through the YouTube chat. So if you are, we will ask that you need to refresh your page if you want to ask questions on the chat, through the chat, if you're having trouble with that. We have some folks monitoring the chat behind the scenes, and they may answer some of your questions directly in the chat itself. So we may not get to all the questions, we know that. Hopefully between some of our conversations and some of the online responses, we'll get many of them covered. And I also want to draw your attention to the list of links below in the YouTube description that may help with some of your more specific questions. All right, so we know we will not get to everyone's questions, but we'll do our best to hit the key points. And just want to give you a reminder that tonight's town hall is recorded for later viewing. Okay, so I think we're ready to start. I'm going to start out with a question that came through beforehand and punt this one over to Leslie. Many of the questions we've received in advance focused on the classroom experience. And so Leslie, can you speak to the quality of the classroom experience and some of the ways in which we expect courses to be taught this coming fall, especially the online and the hybrid options and those things that we've been hearing, all the descriptions we've had so far?
Sure. You know, I think we had a really good dry run in the spring where we had to pivot really quickly to move online. And I was teaching then, so I experienced that. Myself. Faculty learned a lot from that experience because we didn't have the opportunity to really be planful, but we do now. And so faculty are talking a lot between themselves and asking questions of our office in undergraduate education and reading best practices to figure out what the best ways, depending upon their class, to deliver the curriculum this fall. So there are going to be a number of modalities, and the faculty are deciding right now what will work best for what they want to do. And so, you know, we're going to have a number of traditional in-person classes. So just what you would have expected before the pandemic. Although those will be socially distanced and the number of students in those may be smaller. We're also going to have some in-person classes that are hybrid. So faculty might might be able to accommodate in-person interactions, which we all value very much, by having some students come in on Monday, some on Wednesday, some on Friday, and delivering part of the classroom curriculum online. So a blend of in-person and online. So faculty are thinking about that. That may be true, I know it's true in a number of lab classes, just to be able to keep students moving through the curriculum and get a good environment. There are going to be two different ways that online classes are delivered. Some of them, in fact, probably many of them will be delivered synchronously. That's what I did in my class, in my classes this past spring. So we met at 8:15 in the morning, just as we did when we were meeting live, and we did that via Zoom. And I was interested to hear Kaylee talk about what it was like, you know, if you're the kind of person who comes to class early. I come to class early, and so I opened my Zoom early, and the same people who came early during when we were face-to-face came early and hung out in the Zoom room to have interactions online. So I think you can expect that faculty are going to work really, really hard to put together a curriculum and a mode of delivery that is really going to work for them and work for you and be right for the curriculum. And then there'll be a number of classes that are also completely online, exams online, lectures online, and those will be not synchronous. So something that you could do as you have time. And we want to just reinforce, I want to reinforce what Vice Provost McMaster said earlier, and that is that if for whatever reason you need to stay at home and not be on campus, if you need to access classes remotely, we are going to have a robust curriculum that you can access without having to be in person here on campus. Ultimately, we look forward to having you on campus, but that won't be necessary this fall.
Great. All right, thank you, Leslie. We have some questions about student services, and so I'm going to punt this over to you, Megan. So talk a little bit about what kind of services students will be available for students.
Great, Leanne, thank you. There are so many services on campus, and I think one of the things that we have learned in the last 3 or 4 months with the shift to more remote learning is just how well we can provide those services through multiple venues. So some of the services that are available, academic advisors are available for email, for video chat. Student counseling and Boynton mental health services are available, both for in-person visits as well as telehealth. And one of the really nice benefits of that is that no longer are the services only available from the 8 to 5 timeframe, they're also available in the evening. And so that's been a really nice benefit for all of our students as they navigate their schedule and navigate the various different pressures that they are encountering. All of the academic support resources are also available. So library support, writing center support, all of the Smart Commons and academic tutoring and one-on-one help is all available, and it's all been available virtually. So all of those things make a huge difference in what it feels like to navigate the university campus and how to overall think about health and well-being. We know the transition to coming to college is challenging when it's a typical normal year. Right now, layer that upon online and remote learning classes and just the weight of everything going on, there's a lot of additional stress. And so all of the things that are student service related are available and will be offered in multiple different ways. And we'll remind students of that, because I think that's the other real important thing, is that it's not reasonable to think that just because they went through their orientation and they read through the Gold Book, that they're going to remember all of this. We will tell them, we will remind them, and we will remind them again. So students, keep an eye out for that we'll keep updating you and putting plugs in for the various different kinds of services that we know you'll need and we hope you will use.
Great, thank you, Megan. There's a lot of questions about housing, and so Susan, there's a variety. I'm gonna throw a couple of them out there. Questions about move-in. little bit more specifics about that, or maybe reiterate some of the points you talked about in the earlier session. There's a question if students are online in the fall and then switch over to and stay home in the fall, but then want to move in the spring. So maybe start with those two, and then I'll add some more in just a second.
Sounds great. Well, with move-in, we are still trying to get things mapped out a little bit.
My video, you're taking see you do it all.
Oh, sorry. I guess my video's okay.
Oh, sorry.
So, can you hear me okay? You can see me okay. Great. So, so with move-in, we are identifying sort of what window of time we need for the process prior to the start of the academic year. And so we need to make sure that we're planning move-in in a way that can be supportive of maintaining that physical distance as much as possible. So with that said, we haven't specifically gotten all of our dates identified yet. And so as soon as we have those, we will be providing more information and updating our website so that you can plan for it as well. One of the things we're also trying to look into this year is a way, because we know your situations might be a little bit fluid as well. And so will there be an easier way for a move-in time to be able to be adjusted or updated when that time comes? And then I think the other piece, Leanne, you were asking a little bit about December and after Thanksgiving, what happens? And so what we know, we learned a lot this spring about when the campus changed and had only online classes. We know that a number of students still need to be on campus in order to, for just a variety of reasons. And so we are looking ahead so that we have options available for students who might need to stay either through that period of time from after Thanksgiving through the end of finals, or also throughout semester break. So again, we're working on the details of that yet. As we have updates, our website will reflect that additional information. But I just want people to know that we are trying to plan with the utmost flexibility in mind. So thank you, Leanne. Hopefully that helps a little bit.
It does, thank you. There are a lot of questions about masks and our policy about masks being highly encouraged and not mandated. Maggie, I'm gonna have you start with that question and see if you can address some of those concerns.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, we are following the Center for Disease Control guidelines in Minnesota Department of Health, but we will actively be working with students with a social media campaign and many things about wearing masks. And as Bob, Vice Provost McMaster mentioned earlier, faculty, I believe he mentioned this, that faculty will be able to require masks in the classroom. And we've been meeting regularly with members from the Minnesota Department of Health, and this mask issue has been discussed extensively. And we feel confident with the social distancing that we are going to have in place, especially in the classrooms and in fact, all of the venues on campus, that if the students come in with their masks on when they're walking to and from classes, once they get in the classroom, if they're 6 feet apart, they will be able to take those masks off. But we will highly be encouraging that. And actually, to let people know, I've been on campus because our food pantry is open once a month all summer long, and the students have been wearing masks. They're wearing them even outside when we don't even require that. So that's been really encouraging to me. And we're going to work with our student leaders to really be actively out there putting in peer pressure with students to really, think of others and wear those masks. So we feel real confident in the direction we're going with that.
That's great, thanks. I think that's something that's unusual about the University of Minnesota as well, is that we are going with a 6-foot distance. And so some of the universities or other colleges, you'll see that they have masks required, but they also have a closer 3-foot parameter. So there is a little bit more with our 6 feet apart that we feel more confident in the direction that we're going. Maggie, you or Megan, I think, responding to some of the questions about how we will do testing about COVID, what our approach will be as students if they become ill. Would you be able to address that as well?
Yeah, Megan, do you want to start out with that one? I can maybe add.
Sure, absolutely. So really the idea is that we want everyone to be monitoring their health on a regular basis. So we want students to be paying attention to how they're feeling, taking their temperature on a regular basis, and definitely staying home if they have any symptoms at all. And one of the benefits of the course modality delivery mechanism that both Dr. Schiff and Dr. McMaster talked about is that it allows students to be in person when there's an in-person class, but also to experience class online and not miss anything if they aren't feeling well. So we want to encourage students to stay home if they're not feeling well. If they're not feeling well and need to get tested, Boynton Health Service is going to be the way to go, and we'll be able to facilitate that test for them. We, again, want them to monitor the things that are going on so they're aware and they're paying attention. I think sometimes college students are like, I'm good, I'm tired, I've got an allergy, it's no problem. But we really want them to pay attention to all of the components that are happening and get tested if need be. And if that's the case and they do test positive, we will work with them to isolate those around them who they've been in contact with, and to do some contact tracing as well to make sure to track back and reach out to individuals who may have been exposed. Susan shared earlier a little bit about housing's policies and procedures for isolation, for quarantine as needed. But I think the other piece that's really important there is that our Boynton Health Services staff are phenomenal about being able to reach out to students, check in on them. How are they doing? Is there any new development or change in their health, and be able to make sure that they've got the appropriate health care and the supplies they need. So we did this spring. You know, again, we've learned a lot of things in the last 4 to 6 months, and our health response team, as well as our Boynton staff, really figured out how to do this well, and we have great confidence to be able to do it on a larger scale if needed, with more students on campus this fall. Maggie, what did I miss? Anything you want to toss in there and add?
No, I'm glad you mentioned something about spring, because we did experience COVID spring semester and we managed it very, very well. And we also are looking at getting into some contracts with some nearby hotels so that we'll have extra rooms there if we need students to isolate. So we feel very confident that we're going to be able to manage this. And Boynton Health is right here on campus. They've already been doing testing all summer, and it's been going really very well. So thank you, Megan and Leslie.
All right. I want to remind everybody that there are lots of questions coming in, and we're not going to be able to get to everyone's questions, so we apologize for that. Also know that we are working every day. We're learning more and more, and we're setting more rules and policies. So we don't have a lot of the specifics that you're probably looking for at this point, but they will be communicated out. We will certainly share all those resources as they become known. So we ask for your patience with some of that as well, and know that we'll follow up with some of your questions after this session. All right, so Susan, I'm going back to housing again. There's another question about some of the fees. How does it work when people move out at Thanksgiving? And how will the housing costs be adjusted? Will they be adjusted if students move home? Can you address some of those concerns?
Well, Leanne, didn't you just say there were details that we don't have figured out yet? That is some of the information that we are working on identifying and figuring out. I don't want to overcommit for what students may need to be planning to pay for. One of the things that we certainly look at is, in previous years within our residence halls, we kept a couple of our buildings open during the semester break period, and there was a daily rate for staying over that semester break period. And so we're taking that model and trying to look at that, and then sort of trying to sort through what the university needs, because we're here to also support that university experience. So we are working on that. Typically, one of the other pieces that to remind people of is within our apartment communities, we have two different contracts. There's a residence hall contract and an apartment contract. And the apartment contracts are for continuous occupancy. And so if students know that they will want to arrive on campus and stay on campus, that is a really good option for them. And so as you look at your housing contract, you can always go in and update that information and look at the choices between a residence hall contract and an apartment contract.
All right, thank you. Bob, this one's gonna go to you. So there's questions a little bit about can a student take all their courses fall semester online? And then if they choose to want to defer to the spring, is that an option? You got on mute and then.
It helps to get off mute. The answer in terms of will all classes be offered online in the fall, the answer to that is no. Some of the classes will be in person. Some will be fully online, and then as I mentioned before, there'll be some that are in hybrid format. There will be a large number of classes that will be offered online. We know that already from some of the faculty interactions and their plans for the fall. So students will certainly, especially first-year students, be able to get nearly all the classes they want in an online format. So that should not be a problem. In terms of deferral to spring, of course, we hope students don't defer to spring because we very much want you here this fall. If students do want to defer, the best mechanism is to contact the Office of Admissions, to actually contact them directly and have a conversation, because they certainly can provide details on what this means. For instance, you can pretty much automatically defer for a year, for 1 year, but you have to be careful because if you take classes during that year, you could be considered a transfer student, and then you'd have to reapply as a transfer student, and I don't think that's what you want. In terms of spring, this year we are going to be flexible in allowing students who really need to defer to spring. Again, we think your best option is to arrive here in the fall and start classes. But contact admissions, and their counselors there will have a conversation with you about what this means.
Great, thank you, Bob.
Yep.
And to clarify, or just to kind of give you an outline of our timeline, we are asking faculty to be able to determine how their courses will be delivered by mid-July. So at that time, you'll be through orientation at that point. And well, some of you, the freshmen, will be through orientation. And then at that time, you can go back in your schedule. We'll be able to work with you to make sure that you have the offering that you are interested in terms of online or in person or hybrid. Okay, Maggie, there's some questions about campus safety, specifically talking about our campus police versus the Minneapolis Police Department. If you could speak a little bit to that, the training between, the difference between the two, and some of the training that is offered.
Yes, happy to talk about that. Our University Police Department actually does a marvelous job. And a lot of their training, in addition to just, general safety things that every police officer has to be trained in, they really are trained in student development and how to work with our students in more of a developmental capacity. So they don't have an interest in having our students go to jail or any of those things. We want to give students the benefit of the doubt, and they're really, really great to work with. Our police are they're separate from the Minneapolis Police Department that you've been reading about in the news. And I was actually on a call earlier today with somebody from the Minneapolis City Council who was asking whether the University of Minnesota Police Department would be willing to share their training with the Minneapolis Police Department. So that's how highly regarded our police officers are on this campus. So is there anything more on that, Leanne? I can't remember the number of officers we have. I think it's And most things that happen on campus are managed by our own police department, which again is fantastic. And Minneapolis does come in to support around the neighborhoods, but we have a great relationship with them as well.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Maggie. I appreciate that. Haley, can you talk a little bit about some of the the experiences that you've had as a student in terms of student groups, or what you think the campus life looking to the fall, how people will meet each other, and as a new student, how there'll be some of those connections formed?
Yeah, so some of the things that I'm a part of was the Outdoors Club, as well as I'm a tour guide at the Office of Admissions. Specifically within the Office of Admissions, we still hosted like weekly meetings to be able to bond with each other and stuff, even though we were online. A lot of the other students that I am friends with were also in other clubs that still had online meetings even during spring when all of our classes went online, so they still got to meet that way. So no matter what student groups you're interested in are deciding to do fall, like in fall, if it's in person or if it's going to be online, you'll still get the opportunity to build connections. I would definitely recommend all of you going to the link, the website called Gopher Link, LINK. That's going to list all of the student groups we have, and you can also start getting on their email list. And then you can also be in communication with those groups about their specifics as well if they know them at that time. But yeah, I had a really great experience. I'm excited for the fall. I'm not exactly sure if we're going to be online or in person yet, but either way, I'm excited to just continue to build connections with all the friends that I've made and create new ones. So yeah.
Great, thanks, Haley. Megan, there's some questions about technology and how the university will support students as they do the online and hybrid. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, it's a great question, but I think that's a stressor that doesn't need to be a stressor. And so it's nice to be able to knock that one out as something students don't have to worry too much about. We want to make sure that all students have enough Wi-Fi access and enough bandwidth there, as well as the hardware that they need to be able to engage in online learning. And so we hit that in a couple of different ways. So we have a wonderful office for technology on campus, and they are helpful in all sorts of ways when your technology is not working, when you need something updated, but also helping to facilitate additional broadband coverage for our students. So if a student chooses to do some of their classes remotely and is in a location where they don't have Wi-Fi, oftentimes our OIT office can help assist with that to enhance it or help provide a contract or provide some bridging services to make sure that there is access there. We also know that we have a number of students who don't have the technology that they need and aren't able to acquire it. Perhaps they have a laptop that's really old that doesn't have a camera, and that reduces the way they can engage in a classroom context. So we're encouraging students to work with their college and to reach out with to their specific college. So whether that is the College of Liberal Arts, the College for Science and Engineering, and the college staff can help facilitate some bridging there in terms of hardware and computers. The other piece to note is that as much as we could, even this spring and throughout the summer, we've tried to keep some of the computer labs open so students are able to access that when they need to. And I suspect that we will continue to do that in the fall. I know the residence halls helped with that, as well as other buildings on campus, including the student union. So lots to look forward to. And if you're in doubt, if you're nervous about that, reach out and ask, because you don't need to be nervous about it.
Great, thank you. Leslie, I think, could you help kind of describe the different ways kind of online learning will happen? We saw some of those examples in the spring, and we're planning for fall semester as well. But I think helping people understand what does it mean to be, what are the different ways you can be online, all at the same time, if it happens at different times.
Sure.
Examples.
Sure. So one way that you can be online is for the class not to have a meeting pattern at all. So if you want to do Calc 2 at 2 o'clock in the morning in your dorm room, I'm not advising it, but that would be okay. The lectures will be online, the materials will be online, and you will work through that and you will interact with your professor and your teaching assistants through a Canvas site, through our learning management system. So there will still be plenty of opportunities to interact with faculty and teaching assistants, but really the material will all be there online. A second way that classes will be delivered online is synchronously. So there will be a meeting pattern as if you were in a real room in a building on campus, but you will be in your space on Zoom, usually on Zoom, and the faculty member will probably also be on Zoom, and you will interact in that way. And so, for example, when I taught this spring, I would give part of a lecture, students on Zoom. We met at 8:15 in the morning. Students on Zoom raised their hand. The same people who asked questions when we were face-to-face asked questions on Zoom. And so there's back and forth dialogue. Faculty have the ability to move students from a big Zoom room where we might be delivering a lecture material into breakout rooms and say, I'm going to give you 10 minutes to go talk about this question, and then we're all going to come back and discuss it. So that's an example of synchronous delivery. So those are the two major types: synchronous, which is with a time all together, and then asynchronous, where the material is delivered and you have more flexibility about when you engage with it.
Thank you. I also know that we have some faculty who are talking about kind of that rotation in the classroom. So it could be that you are in a class on Tuesdays, and then on Thursday you're watching it online, and some other students are in the classroom. So that's going to be another example of how we're going to create some of those safe space and make sure safe spaces in the classrooms, and make sure that we have some of that health and safety as our priority. All right, Haley, there's some questions about Welcome Week, and you are the goddess of Welcome Week at this point as an orientation leader. So can you help people kind of understand what to expect, if it's online, in person, you know, help us understand how students will be welcomed on campus?
Yeah, so traditionally it's called Welcome Week, but this year's extra special. It's going to be Weeks of Welcome now. So it's going to be a 4-week-long program, and as of now, we are doing a lot of it online. We are still in the process of planning it all, but we got some students helping out, so we know we're going to make it super fun for y'all. But as of now, we are hoping to have each student have a small group with a Welcome Week leader and meet with them once a week as a required thing. And then there's also going to be optional activities to go to. Each week is going to have a different theme. I believe that one of the themes is going to involve like wellness. So we are looking at having like a virtual 5K or maybe some yoga classes. So if that's something that interests you, that's a really good way to meet some people. But I would definitely recommend going to Weeks of Welcome. In my experience, Welcome Week was my favorite part of college. I literally met my best friend and my future roommates that way. So if y'all put yourselves out there, I promise you it's going to be good for you. So many connections are going to open up just because you put yourself out there. But yeah, should I add anything else, or is that kind of good?
I think that was good.
Okay.
There's more information coming, right? So everyone will get all the details as they get through orientation, and again, as the planning unfolds. All right, so I think we're kind of wrapping up our time here. I know we did not get to all your questions. I know we did not have some of the details that you were looking for. And again, please be patient with us as we figure all this out. Things are unfolding and shifting day by day, as both from the guidance that we're getting from the state, as well as just how this whole pandemic is unfolding. So we are, again, keeping the health and safety of our university community in the forefront of all of our decisions. And so taking our time and making those decisions is, we think, a good use of our time at this point. So again, in the middle of July, we'll have a better sense of which classes are online and which will be in person and what format they'll be offered. So we'll be in touch about that in the near future. And again, we'll have some of those Q&A, the web pages and the answers to these questions are being posted on a regular basis. So keep an eye out for that. You're in good hands with the Office of Orientation and Transition Experiences staff, the Office of Admissions. All the guests here on the panel are here to be backups and answer those questions for you. And the moment we have something figured out, you'll be the first to know. So again, please be patient as we figure this all out. We thank you for joining us tonight. We hope that you found it helpful and supportive, that knowing that we're all here for your student, and we're here to support you as family members as well. We're excited to have you a part of our Gopher community. Lots more information coming. Again, there'll be an email that will be sent out to you by Friday this week, which will have some additional links, probably some additional specifics to some of those questions, or at least what we figure out between now and Friday. And we will look forward to the back to fall experience that we'll be creating and welcoming you all to our Gopher community. So thank you, everybody. Thank you all of our panelists for your time tonight. Be safe and be well. We'll see you in the fall. Thanks, everybody.